What's up, gamers? I'm your host, Cobra, and this is the Freeroll. Today, we're talking about surviving and maximizing your portfolio during a bear market. Now, before we jump in, a couple of really important points that I want to make. First of all, you notice this is not my normal studio. I'm actually in a hotel room, and for the next month or so, my family and I are going to be on the road visiting family in the Midwest, and I'm going to be recording from temporary locations. So quality will be a little bit below par, but I'm working on improving the temporary studio situation, and in the long run, we'll be moving into a new home where I'm going to have a dedicated studio space for recording, and it will be absolutely worth it in the long run. Second, I am not a financial advisor, and I am not here to give you financial advice today. In fact, I've been in the NFT space for almost a year and a half now, which is a long time for most people, but not long enough to have really gone through a bear market such as we are experiencing today. That said, I am paying much closer attention to the projects that we are covering and investing than your typical player might be, and I'm looking towards a lot of different expert analysis around the overall market itself to supplement my own economic knowledge. So today we're going to cover 4 different topics that I believe are really important for surviving the bear market. Now, we are taking a play to earn perspective to all of this, but it's really general NFT advice, and some of it is general crypto advice as well. Those 4 things are understanding your risk tolerance and position, surviving, consolidating around the projects you're most confident in, and how and when to buy the dip. Now, part 1 is simply economic and investment advice overall, but it is vital that you understand your position and risk tolerance. And what I mean by that is that everybody's financial situation is different. For me, I am still working a 9-to-5 job and collecting a paycheck. That paycheck is what my family depends on for support, but I don't rely on crypto or NFT gains for any income at all. That means that the market can go to complete zero overnight, and my regular life is not harmed at all. My dreams might be dashed, but we will be fine. We have enough money to survive without getting anything out of this space. However, in the future, I intend to earn at least a portion of my income through play and earn games and NFT trading, which means that this is a great learning opportunity because it's not going to be the last time that investors go through a bear market, and they do say that this is the best opportunity to make real gains. The people that make the smart investments while the market is way down are the ones that are best positioned to make big gains when the market does turn around eventually. And so we're going to try our best to do that, and this channel is going to keep its focus on how we can maximize that in the play to earn space. That said, I know lots of people in this space that are full-time in Web3, and they depend on crypto trading and NFT trading gains for their income. And if you're in that position, then you need to approach this very differently than I am. You need to consider things like how much should you move your Ethereum into USDC. Hopefully you've already done a big chunk of that before Ethereum took a nosedive last night. If you didn't, you still need to consider if that's something that makes sense, because a lot of people think that Ethereum's going to keep going down, and the reality is we can't be sure what's going to happen in the near future. If crypto is paying your bills in any fashion, you should be considering moving some of that into your bank account as cash, or at least holding some of it as USDC And that brings us to point number 2, which is simply to survive this bear market. Now, we don't know how long things are going to be ugly for, and we don't know when things are going to start to turn around. We'll hopefully see some signs, and I'm going to do my best to help predict when that is going to happen. But the reality is, this could extend for months or years even, and when it does finally rebound, you want to still be in the game, and that's what we mean by survive. So, a couple of things that I am doing to increase my survival rate is, first of all, something that I've preached from the beginning, and that is diversification. The reality is we're investing into a very risky asset class here with NFTs, and just the nature of NFTs is that any individual project could go to zero on a moment's notice. So for that reason, we don't want to put all of our eggs in any one single basket, no matter how confident we are in said basket. If you've been following this channel, you know I am really, really high on a project called Guild of Guardians, and I have a large collection of NFTs for that project. I'm not going to be getting rid of any of those because I still have a lot of confidence in that project. But I am going to not put all of my money into that single project because it's still a single point of failure, and the reality is I might be wrong about that one. So we're going to continue to diversify our portfolio where it makes sense. We're also going to be paying very close attention to how each individual project is responding to this market. It's going to be a challenge, and the reality is we're going to see some of them fail in the coming months. Hopefully it's not any of the ones that we are covering in our core portfolio here on the Freeroll, but odds are probably one or two of those are gonna go south. We've already seen some projects really struggle after looking really good early on. Zrun and Axie Infinity are two good examples of that. We made investments into those projects here on the Freeroll. We had a various amount of success with them, but I wouldn't touch Zrun with a 12-foot pole today, and I'm still pretty leery about getting back into Axie Infinity as well. The other part of survival is understanding that it is okay to take a loss. There are a couple of specific scenarios where I think it is actually very smart right now to sell some of your NFTs even if they are underwater. The first one is a really obvious one. If you are holding too much of your portfolio in NFT assets today, then consider selling some of them even if it's at a loss in order to move some of that into either Ethereum, stablecoin, or cash even in your bank account. Whatever makes sense based on part one, knowing your position and risk tolerance. It is perfectly acceptable to say, hey, I didn't see this extreme bear market coming, and so yes, I took a loss on this particular trade, but it allowed me to reposition my portfolio in an intelligent way so that I could survive and continue to hopefully make gains in the future in this space. It's also nice to increase your buying power, even if you don't know where you want to invest that money today, because the reality is there's going to be a lot of really good buying opportunities in the near future because of these market conditions. And you can really only take advantage of those if you have money to spend. The other spot where it makes a whole lot of sense to sell at a loss is to reposition your NFT assets themselves. So we've been doing this all along, and if I see any of my investments reach a level that makes them worth significantly more than other projects, I tend to take some profits there and move them into another project to keep things relatively balanced out. That is perfectly acceptable in this scenario as well. If you have more confidence in one project over another and you believe that project B is more likely to survive the market and make strong rebounds in the future or sooner than Project A, there's nothing wrong with selling Project A at a loss to rebuy Project B that is theoretically also down today, but in a better position to rebound in the future. Tip number 3 is to consolidate your portfolio around the projects that you have the most confidence in. So, for example, I am really confident in Ethereum long term, and I am really confident in the play to earn space long term. And for both of those things to be true, Ethereum needs a layer 2 partner or solution in order to facilitate large amounts of transactions that are required by play to earn games. Immutable X is my preferred and favorite L2 for Ethereum today for a couple of reasons. They've already recruited some of the strongest play and earn gaming projects out there today. We've talked about Guild of Guardians a whole bunch, and they are on Immutable X. There are other really strong projects that we haven't entered into yet, like Illuvium, and I have a lot of confidence in that project as well. They also chose Immutable X. But today I don't own any IMX tokens, and that's a hole in my portfolio. I am going to look to move some of my NFTs for projects that I have less confidence in, sell them off, yes, probably at a loss, and move some of that allocation into IMX. If I do decide to make any additional purchases, they will likely go towards IMX as well. The other strategy is, if you don't want to get away from the NFTs and the gaming projects specifically themselves, is perhaps consider selling off the ones that you have less confidence in and moving them into ones that you have more confidence in. I think a really strong example here is Yuga Labs' Other Side, Other Deeds. And most NFT traders will tell you to move into blue chips like the apes themselves, or a Macy, or an Azuki, or a CloneX, and those are worthwhile investments for their own reasons as well, but they're not part of the play to earn space, with the exception that Yuga Labs is now entering that space with Other Side Deeds. And while we've already made a pretty significant investment in that project today and are currently taking a beating because those floor prices are down as well, I know a couple of things. Yuga Labs has delivered lots of value to their holders in the past, and that's reason to believe they'll be able to continue doing that. They've also raised a shit ton of money and have really big partnerships that mean it's very likely that they survive this market, and therefore their projects are safer than other ones. We've invested in games that measure their treasury in the single millions, meaning less than $10 million, which is a lot of money and should allow a project to survive 3 to 6 months, no problem. But that is a far cry from the hundreds of millions of dollars that Yuga has and will continue to earn. Now, our fourth and final tip is one that you have undoubtedly heard a million times before, but is actually true today, and that is to buy the dip. Now, that is not something that everybody has the means to do. If you have been keeping a good percentage of your portfolio in, say, Ethereum, Bitcoin, or even stable coins, then you have the ability to make additional purchases today. If you have money that you can invest in the bank that you can afford to lose and don't need in the immediate future, then you have the ability to buy the dip today. If you do not, that is okay. Nothing to be ashamed of. Focus on the first 3 strategies instead. But for those of you that do, now is the time to consider making those purchases, and you want to do so in an intelligent manner. That means doing something called dollar cost averaging, or DCA. DCA means that you're not trying to time the bottom, but rather you're continuing to make purchases, smaller purchases at various points in the market, so that at least 1 or 2 of them are coming close to capturing the bottom, But overall, you're reducing your average buy price by making additional purchases. We don't know if today is the bottom. In fact, probably is not the bottom, but that doesn't mean that it's a bad idea to start your DCA purchases today, because we don't know when the bottom is going to be. Maybe Ethereum levels out at 1200, maybe it levels out at 900, maybe this is going down to sub 100. Either way, if you break your purchases up and make them over time, it's likely that one or two of them at least come close to capturing the bottom, and it is guaranteed that all of them will reduce your average cost over time. This can be done with the NFTs themselves as well, not just the coins. There may be projects that you still have a lot of confidence in. We've used Guild of Guardians as an example multiple times. We'll continue to do so. If I have extra money to invest into NFT projects, Guild of Guardians is one that I personally would choose because I'm certain that they can survive this market, and I'm also still very confident that they are going to grow and become one of, if not the biggest, play-to-earn games in the space. So now's a great time to start buying more GOG NFTs. That doesn't mean that today is the bottom, though. So I may purchase an adventure guild significantly less than I could have a couple of months ago. It may still be cheaper next month, and maybe I consider buying another one or buying some additional legendary heroes. We will talk about those purchases and strategies on this channel as I make them. And that wraps up today's video on how to maximize and survive in a bear market. If you found this video helpful, and we certainly hope you did, consider giving us a follow on Twitter. That's where I love to engage with the play and earn community, talk about the various projects and investments that we are making, and answer your questions. If you have a question about this particular topic or anything play to earn related, whether you're an investor or a founder or developer yourself, feel free to send me a DM. Yes, I am on the road and busier than usual, but I promise I will get back to everyone.